Okay, I've got a question. What do a cringy bet between work bros, a sheltered dog named Jake, and the most meddling of mothers have in common?
Well, somehow, believe it or not, they are all key plot points in 2012's A Bride for Christmas, and we've got a lot to talk about, Josh.
We do, Jennifer, and we'll unwrap it all on this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
This is number 11 in our 12 Pods of Christmas summer series, and we have been having an absolute blast. So we're going to give you the plot summary. We will share some gifts in our ever-popular Gold or Coal segment, and we will give you the bottom line opinion. Is it worth the watch?
That's right. But first things first, here's the plot summary. A single man tries to win a bet by getting a woman recovering from a broken engagement to marry him by Christmas.
What could possibly go wrong?
I don't know.
So we open to a bridal shower here, and Jessie, played by Arielle Kebbel, is our female lead, and she is opening some towels, and a gal named Marcy makes a vague reference to removing the custom embroidery if it, well, doesn't end up well. Ouch. Out of the gate.
Yeah. Catching strays right out of the game. That's right. Now, the leading lady, it's important to note, if you're a Gilmore Girls fan, like I am, was Lindsay, Dean's interest at one point in the show. I've said too much. That's all I'll say. There you go.
Anyway,
when my
that
worlds collide.
Thing gets interrupted by the one and only Kimberly Susted, who plays Jessie's sister, Vivian. She gives her a tchotchke with the groom's pick. Then an 80s dance party breaks out, and it is some bad 80s production music in the background, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm. But I want Kimberly Susted as my sister, so I'm on board with all of this.
For sure. Now we're at the aforementioned wedding, and Jessie is having some serious second thoughts. Her mom isn't interested, however, in offering some sage advice or support in this moment of crisis. Instead, she just wants her daughter hitched. So the ceremony starts, and what do you know? Jessie bolts like full-on runaway bridesmaid, chucks her bouquet, and is on the run. Cut to the house that she shares with her sister a bit later that night, presumably, and Jessie has been ugly crying. Like, even ugly for Hallmark standards, ugly crying here.
Blubbering mess, yeah.
Yeah, it turns out this was the third time she broke off an engagement. And in the aftermath, she swears off love, and her sister Viv is trying to be supportive. So now we're at a poker night, I guess presumably across town, and we meet our male lead, Aiden. He is played by fan favorite Andrew Walker. His boys are giving him a hard time about his big batch lifestyle. They determine he is not marriage material and say he could never get a girl to commit. It is then that they hatch a bro plan here. The premise of this movie, and it is a bet that emerges as follows. If he can somehow convince a girl to marry him by Christmas, which is just 4 weeks away, he gets a fancier office at work. What were your initial impressions, Jennifer?
So it's worth noting from the jump, I've seen this movie a couple of times in the past, and I remembered it fondly. And usually if we rewatch a movie, my love for it only grows as I grew older. Not the case with this movie.
Put a pin in it.
Could not get over the basically thievery of the plot to How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I mean, down to the framing of the poker scene, because there's a scene where Matthew McConaughey is playing poker with his bros, and it's the same thing, except take Christmas out of it and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. In that one, he's trying to get the girl to propose or fall in love with him, and she's trying to make him break up with her, and like she does this crazy stuff. This is half of that movie. Bonkers. Could not believe it. Now, that being said, I loved How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, but I had never really made that connection that it's the same movie.
Good on you for spotting that. I didn't even get that. Anyway, we're at the office, Aiden's place of work, and he and his bros make plans to scout for a woman at a fancy art thing a bit later. Lo and behold, what do you know? Jessie and Viv are there to network. They are interior designers in search of new clients in the big city of San Francisco. Aiden's bro friend, Matt, oogles Jessie, and then tries to put the moves on her while she is contemplating some art. Viv swoops in, puts the kibosh on it, and Matt points out Jessie a bit later to Aiden as she is breaking presumably an expensive piece of art and tries to cover it up, and Aiden watches from a distance. He makes his approach, flirts a little bit, and she shuts it down. But Viv here sees a chance to boost their business, and now Jessie has a meeting with Aiden set on the calendar, dubbed now a potential client. So, not that, Jennifer, you would have any sort of intimate knowledge about this kind of world, but would presumably interior designers jet off to fancy art things to scout for potential clients? Is that at all how, I don't know, maybe you've read a magazine or something, is that at all how the industry works?
I mean, I don't know, right? But if I did know, I would say probably not. Usually people are looking for artwork at the end of their project. Not, I'm thinking of a home reno. Let me go look at some art. Like, it's kind of the putting the cart before the horse, if you will. But these designers are trying to drum up business, and that's how they're going to do it. I also didn't know that interior designers carried a color wheel around in their purse, like we'll see coming up. But different business practices for different occupations I know nothing about.
Yeah. Well, it was a different generation. This is now 12 years ago, so maybe we'll let it fly.
Yeah, it was definitely 12 years ago because, I'm sorry, back to the poker scene real quick. Did Andrew Walker really just talk to his buddies about getting lucky in a Hallmark Christmas movie?
Yeah, he did. Absolutely.
Oh,
It was
what a gall.
a little cringy, yes, for sure. Aiden's condo, by the way, is moderately fancy, and you know this because the elevator opens right into his place. Jessie makes a big deal about that. The condo, however, is fairly drab, a blank sort of bachelor slate of sorts, and Jessie is working extra hard to avoid his flirty advances. She pulls out a color wheel, as Jennifer mentioned, and whoops, her old engagement ring happens to fall out of her purse. It gets awkward in a hurry, and she bolts, because when she broke off the engagement with the earlier guy that we saw in this movie, she kept the ring for some reason. I guess he told her to, thinking maybe she would have second thoughts and come back to him. It was, yikes, a choice. He is...
Yeah, Josh, if somebody breaks up an engagement with you, do you ask for the ring back?
Wow. I don't know that I ask for the ring back, but I would accept the ring back if it was given to me. What about...
I would give it back because unless you're trying to just get money out of the deal and you hawk it, but I would give it back gladly before it's even asked.
There you go.
She's carrying around. She did say she was going to return it to him. She just hadn't yet. So it's just in her purse in the big city.
In her purse, hanging out.
Why not? Yeah.
Well, anyway, this whole thing gets awkward. She bolts in a hurry. A bit later, we're at her mom and dad's place. And of course, Jessie's meddling mom here has invited Mike over, the guy she ditched at the altar, like 2 days ago or something. Mom wants them together in spite of how Jessie actually feels about him. And that is something for us to discuss, Jennifer. It just felt, I don't know, a little icky to me, the way Mom was just kind of forcing everything here. What did you think?
It's like she was trying to figure out how many goats she was worth. Like, just trying to get her married off because, especially back then on Hallmark movies, if you were not married, then what is your purpose in life? That is the end-all, be-all. And so we got to get this girl hitched. And this is her third broken engagement, her third trip down the altar to run away. So what's wrong? Let's just get back on the horse. Let's try it again with this same guy. It was weird. I don't know. Was he a family friend? Or no, she's just meddling.
I think she's just meddling. I mean, yeah.
Didn't love it. Yeah.
Aiden pops by the gal's house/office the next day, and he checks out the vibe board that Jessie has come up with and says, we'll just tag along to, go look at some furniture with her a bit later in the day. The plan solidifies when Mike, here comes Mike again, pops by to try to take Jessie to lunch. So Jessie, trying to avoid Mike, decides, yes, Aiden can come along. We have to go buy furniture. They go check out a sofa. They talk about their shared love of slasher films, and we learn Aiden was left home a lot as a kid, and Jessie thinks Christmas decor can be tacky. She has a soft spot for Christmas carols, however, and on cue, Aiden pops down to the piano bench at a bar a bit later and plays the first Noel, or at least pretends to play while an actual pianist plays it in the background.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Andrew was actually playing the first Noel.
Some tricky camera work in that scene.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm playing it too.
That's what it looks like.
It's like
exactly. Yeah.
not, that's okay though. Yeah, it was a cute scene. I do enjoy how amused by her that he is. Like I think maybe it was bet influence, but he does seem very taken by her.
I think so too. It's a lovely moment until another one of Jesse's exes stops by and says hello. She tells Aiden her fiance count is 3, and he is puzzled by this fact. He unpacks that at a street meat stand the next day with his work bros. Then it's back to Aiden's condo where it's delivery day suddenly, like that quickly. For all
The lead times, I mean, it is a pre-COVID world. The lead times on furnishings just must have been zippy quick back then because, my gosh, custom furniture in a jiffy.
Right? Bought it all off the floor, presumably. I don't know.
I guess. Yeah.
They chat about art and Aiden's childhood dog named Luke. They watch an old slasher film while waiting for a lamp delivery. And we get a brief moment of comedy when they're somehow waiting for these lamps in pitch black because, oh, I get it. They didn't have any lamps. And the lamp delivery guy pretends to be a slasher and scares the bejesus out of them. It's mildly fun.
Now, how did Aiden see anything at night before this renovation?
Oh, good question.
Does he not have any overhead lighting of some sort? I do believe that's probably a code minimum requirements. There must have been something to illuminate this condo.
Not only that, is the delivery guy just walking into the room unannounced, or is he
At night?
at the front door? We know he's got.
He just shows up behind him. Yeah.
Presumably the elevator's going to ding or something when the door. Just bananas.
I did jump when I saw that. But also, did you know girls can like burgers and girls can like dogs? Like all she wanted was to eat some burgers on the couch, bro. Like chicks eat burgers. She's a different kind of girl, and she likes dogs. Whoa,
she's so cool.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Jesse's so cool. Yeah.
Vivian gives Jesse a hard time about their not date while Jesse decorates the family tree the next day. Aiden unpacks how cool she is. She likes burgers, guys.
That's
At
right,
poker night a bit later. He shows up to volunteer at the same dog shelter she does. They go walk dogs when Mike, here comes Mike again, shows up to pitch a trip to City Hall to get this marriage thing done once and for all. Mike, please get a clue.
Read the room, Mike.
Read the room.
It's giving desperate at this point, Mike. Let's move on.
Bad. We get a brief brief moment of peril, when Jake gets off leash and comedically bowls over Mike, like literally knocks him into a hedge. It was mildly fun.
Yeah.
Now, Jesse apparently had Aiden's floors redone at his condo, which he apparently was not aware of. So he shows up to her house, and she somehow manages to parlay this into an invitation for him to join her at family game night. Well, this gets awkward when Aiden finds Jesse's mom's engagement scrapbook photo albums full of horribly photoshopped pics of Jesse with these other 3 dudes that she's had relationships with. There is a beautiful, however, wedding pic at the end, and it's mildly a tender moment. Now, if you're a mom of a woman who has had 3 failed engagements, are you keeping the pictures that led up to those engagements that quite clearly show how miserable your daughter is, Jennifer? Go.
Because she's increasingly got the ick. Every engagement, her face is giving ick more and more. If it was my daughter, I might keep an engagement photo in like a box in a closet somewhere.
Yeah.
Like maybe one day you'll want to tell your kids about your past lovers. I don't know if you would want to do that. Mom's probably still hoping one of them gets back in the running, so we'll bring the photos back out. I would keep one copy, I think, in a box in the tippy top of the closet or the attic. Would not have it photo protected in a scrapbook with, adhesives and embellishments and things for anybody to see. No, probably wouldn't do that.
No. It's quite clear, however, that Jesse's mom is a hashtag smitten kitten when it comes to Aiden, and the 2 of them play the first Noel, and what? here comes Mike again. Mike's showing up for family game night. Turns out meddling mom invited him. It gets testy when there's talk of poker, and it's on because Mike feels threatened by Aiden because is he a client or is he something more? I just broke off this wedding, 72 hours ago, and already here's Aiden showing up at family game night. Well, the boys up the ante, bet their vehicles, and Aiden loses his Infinity Coupe, which really dates this movie altogether.
Yeah, well, things happen. I mean, this whole sequence is bonkers. It starts off bonkers with the floor refinishing. So you've already loaded in lamps and furniture, and then you're going to have the floors refinished.
I didn't even pick up on that. Now, Jennifer, if you happen to have like intimate knowledge of such things from an interior design perspective, just, hypothetically, would this be something that would be normal course of business or no?
No, I think you would clear it all out. Hypothetically, you would finish the floors because it's very dusty. I mean, when you refinish floors, that stuff gets everywhere. It is on every nook and cranny. So you would do that first, and you would certainly notify the owner and so they could pack up all their stuff. They would cover the stuff they couldn't move because the dust will find a way everywhere. And then they refinish the floors. Then you bring in all the furnishings after it's had time to dry. What are you doing? She's a terrible designer. I don't like it.
See,
okay, there's that.
I was just going to say, dear listener, this is the context that you get on this podcast, nowhere else.
We are very good about putting ourselves in these people's shoes, hypothetically. And the shoes would have little booties on them, so you're not scuffing up the new floors. Okay, that's strike one. Strike two, I think Aiden is flirty with her mom, and her mom is flirty back, and it's weird. I got weird vibes between them. I think if Jesse's mom wasn't a married woman, she'd date Aiden.
Yeah.
Or she'd make a pass at him, at least.
Sure. She makes googly eyes quite a bit in his direction throughout this entire...
Strike three, this whole, broing out poker scene where they're just trying to one-up each other is so 2012, but it did kind of make me laugh. I'm glad he lost his car.
Yeah.
You deserved it.
A little Wild Westy, especially because we got full screen on their eyeballs. It was just a little like...
A tumbleweed may as well have gone by. Wah, wah, wah.
Very that. It's very that.
Hiding for Jesse's love, who at this point, she loves neither one.
Now, Aiden is definitely catching feelings for Jesse and tries to cancel the bet. His bro gives him a hard time, and Aiden is like, I don't care, this is stupid. Maybe, just maybe, he's really got a heart of gold, I start to wonder, and maybe, in fact, he actually is marriage material. It's still unclear to me at this point. Jesse sure thinks so, however, when Aiden gives the business to a guy who brings Jake back to the dog shelter. So we get this scene where Aiden is confronting this guy who's trying to return a dog that he previously adopted. Aiden is like, you said you would commit to this dog and all this other stuff. We kind of get this like cut back and forth between Aiden giving the business to this guy and Jesse, who's just starting to like melt, like literally... She's melting in the lobby of
Sleeping music's playing in the background, and literally the dog, because the guy was like, this dog is out of control. And they're like, no, he's not. The dog's like jumping higher than the counter the whole time. Like, it made me laugh out loud.
It was...
What are we doing?
Anyway, she is so melty that the second that interaction is over, she plants an aggressive smooch on him and is gobsmacked when she gets back home, declaring he is, in fact, the one. And it's a point.
I'm out.
Literally.
I can't take you seriously, Jesse. You are crazy.
Off a wedding 4 days ago. Let's put this in the right kind of context.
The calendar hasn't clicked down to the next line yet. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, she unpacks all of this with her sister Viv, who wisely suggests she slow down and take some time to visit a therapist to unpack her relationship history. I'm sorry, just kidding. Absolutely not. Instead, she immediately, wait for it, propose marriage to Aiden. And as
I know,
she met him, 96 hours ago. Like, it's just...
The timing makes no sense. If there's a movie we need an advent calendar to count down days till Christmas or something to track the progression of time, it's this one, because it's seemingly within a week, all of this has happened. And they've had no real dates. They had a cheeseburger and a dark couch and hang out at the dog shelter, and now she should propose.
Yeah.
Her family's the problem.
Her family is the problem. Meddling mom is really trying to push the gas pedal on this, and I'm just keep thinking, can we get this girl to a therapist? Because she's got some stuff she needs to work through, unpack, and feel. You know, we love self-awareness here on this podcast, and I just fear for Jessie that she is not very self-aware in this moment.
She is looking for love in all the wrong places.
Seriously. And in this spirit, Jessie goes back and finishes sprucing up Aiden's condo. It looks a bit more like home now. He tries to let her go, you know, he says, you know, whatever you want and that sort of stuff. And she proposes. She lays it all out there. He isn't sure at first, but eventually does wind up saying yes. So, okay, they're engaged. Here we go. Jessie's meddling mom is absolutely thrilled, as any mother would be when their daughter bolts from a wedding and finds a new fiancé in 4 days. And they are all in to plan this wedding. So presumably, I guess they're going to recoup some of the deposits on some of the stuff because they're just going to move the wedding out a week or something. I
don't think so. I think it's all new deposits. I think we're just dipping back into the well.
Well, yikes.
Maybe are her parents loaded?
Apparently.
She's not. They were struggling to get business.
Exactly.
And with her interior design practices, ain't no money there. I'm telling you. Can we read the Yelp reviews of Viv and Jessie's design, VJ's design or whatever? Design. They just refinished my floors after I'd signed a contract. I haven't even picked anything out.
Yeah. Never mind the fact that they got dust all over my brand new custom sofa because they did it in the wrong order. Anywho, Aiden unpacks the bonkers nature of these developments to his work bros over some street meat a little bit later, and Aiden says he is happy, but the bet still comes up nonetheless, which here's Mike again. He happens to hear all about it. He feels really some kind of way about it, and we can see this oopsie doodle coming a mile away at this point. Mike
is like in a steamy manhole on the streets. Just happens to be able to hear them with a hard hat on and stuff.
Very unclear what Mike does. I was like, is he a mechanic? Is he a plumber? Is he
he may as well had like a glass up to them at the street meat counter. Like, yeah, what are you doing, Mike? I would marry you either. Get a sense of vision. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's the beans to her a bit later. She tearfully confronts Aiden, then sadly strolls through town, dragging her wedding dress, only to run into yet another ex-fiancé. Naturally, I mean, it's San Francisco, and this gal has run into 1, 2, and 3 of her ex-fiancés just casually. Yeah, of course.
Same old stomping grounds, I guess. Yeah.
Yikes. Jessie and her.
Now she was going to rewear her wedding gown, wasn't she?
Yeah.
They talked about that.
Viv tried to be like, isn't that bad luck? And Jessie's like, I don't care. I mean, like, her whole romance life is bad luck, apparently. So
yeah, that was the one thing. I guess she'll save some money on that because those things ain't cheap.
No, they aren't. Jessie and her dad have a heart-to-heart about everything that's gone on in the past busy week for her. He says, quote, there's a lot of people you can live with. There's only one you can't live without. And Jessie ponders this Kirkland's wisdom. Then finally, and for good, she decides to break things off with Mike. And he is surprisingly reasonable about it, which I thought was nice. Aiden is bumming at his boring work party. Work bros are trying to cheer him up. And lo and behold, here comes a guest. And it's Jessie's meddling mom, who stops by to let him know she's on his team, and they hatch a plan to pull together a surprise wedding, because that's what every woman wants who is a week out from breaking up an engagement on Christmas Day, is a surprise wedding. Of course.
Someone you just broke up with because he was in a bet to date you and get engaged to you. Did you notice, though, Aiden was in the cubicle? That was like the running gag. If he won the bet, he'd be in the office. If he lost the bet, he'd be out in the cubicle next to like the nerdy intern or whatever. And when he's sulking at the party, he's in the cubicle.
Boy. So Jessie is at the shelter on Christmas Day, and she discovers Jake has been adopted. What great news. Then she's off to her folks' house. Of course, she's wearing a very fancy white dress.
Like, you don't wear white gowns to Christmas Day? Or
No, I'm wearing pajama pants and a ratty t-shirt like the rest of America. Come on. Anyway, Dad is in a tux for some reason. Their reverend is there for some reason. Mom is in a fancy gown for some reason. And whoop, there's Aiden wearing a tux. He says some nice things, produces a ring, and proposes to her. Jake swoops in. Cute little dog Jake. And that's apparently all she needed to see. She says yes, and immediately Mom's like, she said yes. And then from the wings, apparently hiding, in the half bath down the hallway or something from the living room, guests just start flooding the living room out of nowhere. I kept thinking, didn't Jesse see all these cars in the park, in the driveway? Like, where did these people park?
Well, if they're loaded, maybe they have a giant garage or something.
That could be. Exactly.
Yeah.
So guests flood the living room. We have a 2-minute wedding. We get smooches. We get promises of love. And this thing is over.
It's time for gold or coal.
Okay, it is time for our gold or coal segment. We are each going to bring 3 gifts to the podcast. If there's more gold, it's wedded bliss. And if there's more coal, it's a jilted groom. And if it's a tie, it's just a Merry Christmas. Josh, you're up first.
I'm going to have to give some coal out of the gate. And it's for the concept here.
Oh no, the whole concept.
I tried to get on board with it, and I couldn't really figure out what it was about the concept that I specifically didn't like, and then it hit me. The reason I had a problem with the concept is I could not cheer for this couple because I couldn't tell for a good 2/3 of this movie if Aiden was doing what he was doing because he genuinely was into it or because he was trying to win the bet. And there was this pivot point for him where he says, I'm done with this and I'm moving on. But the earlier stuff, the earlier gestures were kind of lost for me. They were sweet, but it just, I don't know. The concept was a little cringy and didn't really work for me. So some coal.
Yeah, my first gift is coal. I said this whole movie makes me cringe so hard. And it didn't used to. I guess I'm an old crotchety woman now. But what are we doing? The X is around way too much to be funny. Like, he should have been around maybe twice. And he was around way, way more than that. The whole premise, like you said, yeah, it's big time cringe. The mom, all of it. Couldn't get behind it.
My next gift is going to be coal. This thing is not Christmassy at all. It's a plot that was dumped in at Christmas and threw some wreaths around and all of this other stuff. And the way that they make this apparently Christmassy is we see Jesse doing like a floral spray of holly and berries and whatnot on the mantle. And her mom's like, that's beautiful. Anyway, when are you getting married? It's just
back to love. Yeah. No, there's
forced. Yeah, not Christmassy.
It's sparse. Yeah, very sparse. I caught that too. My next gift is gold. I did like the final wedding scene, surprise wedding. I don't think it's earned. I will get to that in my last point. But I like this idea that, you come in and everything's taken care of and there's this big declaration of love and then your friends show up and your dad's in a tux. I think it's very sweet. I liked her and her dad's relationship. I would have liked to see more of that because he seemed like the most level-headed of the bunch, except his nickname for her is Bolt because all she does is bolt all the time. So he's kind of just like ragging on her.
Like a good dad would.
But yeah, like a good dad would. So I did like the final scene. There you go.
There you go. My last gift is going to be gold. I really liked Kimberly Susted in this. And it's...
Shocker.
She's one of my all-time favorites. And it's weird for me to see her in a B-roll, where she's just a supporting character. But I did think that the scenes she was in, she really played well. She kind of stole some of them, honestly.
Yeah, she elevates them for sure.
Yeah, she elevates the scenes that she's in. And I think that this was probably a little earlier in her career with Hallmark, and she hadn't really had a lot of starring roles, but I could see where they spotted potential in her because she really does jump off the screen in the scenes that she's in. And I like her timing and the way that she delivers lines. So gold for me for her.
My last gift is coal. There is not an ounce of chemistry on this whole film. And I love Andrew Walker. He is one of my favorite male leads in the Hallmark Kingdom. We saw her. Remember we talked about that Love in the Great Smoky Mountains movie.
Yeah.
She was in that too. I think she's just a little drier than I prefer to see. So she's not my favorite. But anyways, no chemistry. Like nothing foundational in this relationship. Certainly not enough for a proposal and a broken engagement and then a wedding Christmas Day. Like, what are we doing? No, nothing. Mm-mm.
So the bottom line here, we had 2 pieces of gold for Cole. We're going to call it Mike. A jilted groom. Do you think, Jennifer, would this have been one of those that was more popular 12 years ago, but here we are and things have really changed and evolved so much in the Hallmark universe that this just doesn't really rise to the surface?
Doesn't hold up. I think so, because I'm saying I really liked it when I first saw it. I didn't see it in 2012 when it first came out, but early in my Hallmark venture, I watched it and I thought it was funny and it was different. And I applauded them for that, a different take. But now, yeah, we have so many other better options than this. It is funny. I mean, if you want to watch a funny movie that's going to give you bonkers out the wazoo, bonkers feels, then go for it. Give it a spin. It's still much beloved in the Hallmark world.
It really
like
is.
This movie a lot. It's one of the older ones that they still play a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it is capital B bonkers and might be worth the watch just because of that. But in terms of the quality of it, probably not.
And that, friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Special thanks, as always, to Nick Shores for our amazing theme song and to all of you for taking the time to listen on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on our YouTube channel.
Hey, if you like our podcast, be sure to review, subscribe, tell a friend. We're on Facebook and Instagram as well, constantly posting over there. We like hearing your thoughts on movies and topics, so check us out there. Give us a follow. You can also connect with us on our website at doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com. Until we see you soon,
may your days be merry and bright. We'll catch you later.